The stars twinkled peacefully in the void of space as Earth's long-range sensors detected the approaching fleet. It was March 15, 2157, a date that would be remembered throughout human history. 50 sleek, silver ships emerged from faster-than-light travel near Jupiter's orbit, their designs unlike anything humans had seen before. In the United Earth Defense Force headquarters beneath Mount Cheyenne, Admiral James Stone watched the main screen with careful attention. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his eyes tracked every movement of the alien vessels. Around him, the command center hummed with quiet activity as officers monitored their stations. "They're broadcasting something, sir," Lieutenant Rogers reported from the communications station. "It's being transmitted on all frequencies." Stone nodded slowly. "Let's hear it." The message played through the command center speakers. It started as a series of complex mathematical equations, the universal language, before shifting to perfect English. The aliens had already decoded Earth's communications. "Primitive species #4891. A cold voice announced. "This is High Commander Vale of the Galactic Empire. Your world has been discovered and will now be incorporated into our dominion. Prepare for evaluation and processing." Stone straightened his uniform and pressed the broadcast button. "This is Admiral James Stone of the United Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization, but we are not a primitive species, and we will not submit to automatic processing. We suggest diplomatic talks." There was a pause before laughter echoed through the speakers. Cruel, mocking laughter that made several officers clench their fists. "How amusing," High Commander Vale responded. "Your species has barely reached your own moon. We've ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Our ships could turn your cities to glass with a single shot. But please, tell me more about diplomacy." Stone kept his voice level. "We've done more than reach our moon, Commander. We have colonies on Mars, mining operations in the asteroid belt, and research stations near Saturn. We are a spacefaring civilization." "Ah yes, we've scanned your primitive outposts," Vale replied. "Pressurized bubbles and chemical rockets. How quaint. Let me demonstrate the difference between our civilizations." Before Stone could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. On the main screen, a massive energy surge appeared near one of the alien vessels. A beam of purple light shot across space, striking Earth's lunar colony Alpha. The blast tore through the dome's protective shields like they weren't even there. 10,000 civilians died in an instant. The command center fell silent except for the wailing alarms. Stone's face turned to stone as he watched the colony's remains drift into space. He had friends there. Good people. Families. That was merely a warning shot. Vale's voice returned, filled with smug satisfaction. A demonstration of power from a single light cruiser. "You have 6 hours to prepare your world leaders for formal submission, or we will begin planetary pacification procedures." Stone took a deep breath. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet but carried throughout the silent command center. "High Commander Vale, I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. You had a chance for peace. We would have gladly shared our knowledge, traded with you, joined you as equals. Instead, you murdered 10,000 innocent people to make a point." Stone's voice grew colder with each word. "This is your only warning. Leave our solar system now. What you just did, it cannot be undone. But you can still save your fleet if you leave immediately." More laughter filled the command center. "Or what, primitive? Will you throw rocks at us? Perhaps send your chemical rockets?" Stone pressed a button on his console, sending a coded signal throughout the solar system. Red lights began blinking on his display as hidden defense systems activated. Weapons Earth had prayed it would never need to use. "No, Commander. We're going to show you why Y species don't provoke humans into war." Stone's voice was like Arctic ice. "You're about to learn why we spread ourselves across the solar system. Why we built bunkers instead of palaces. Why we focused on stealth technology and redundant systems. You think you've been scanning our real military capabilities. Everything you've seen is what we wanted you to see. The last species that tried to conquer Earth was wiped out. We've been preparing for the next attempt ever since." Stone terminated the connection and turned to his officers. "Sound general quarters throughout the solar system. Activate the Titan protocol. And get me the president. It's time to show the Empire why they should have taken our offer of peace." In the void of space, Earth's hidden defenses began to power up. The Empire had no idea what they had just started. The next 6 hours in Earth's command center were anything but quiet. Military bases around the world activated their hidden underground hangars. In the asteroid belt, camouflaged weapon platforms powered up their systems. On Mars, colony domes that looked simple from the outside opened to reveal missile batteries and energy weapons. Admiral Stone stood before the World Defense Council on the main screen. Representatives from every major nation watched with grim faces as he explained the situation. "The Empire has given us 6 hours to surrender," Stone said, pointing to the tactical display. "They think they're being generous. What they don't know is that they've given us exactly the time we need to wake up everything we've built over the last 50 years. The Chinese representative leaned forward. "Are you certain our hidden defenses will work against their technology?" "Yes," Stone replied firmly. "We've been studying their ships for the past 3 hours. Their arrogance is their weakness. They're broadcasting so much data that our AI systems have already mapped most of their defensive capabilities." As if to prove his point, a junior officer rushed into the room with a tablet. "Sir, we've cracked their shield frequencies." Stone allowed himself a small smile. "You see, they think we're primitive, so they're not even trying to hide their technology." Fatal mistake. The Russian president spoke next. "What about the lunar colony? We cannot let such an attack go unanswered." "We won't," Stone assured him. "But first, I want to give them one last chance to avoid what's coming." He turned to his communications officer. "Put me through to their command ship." High Commander Vale's hologram appeared, looking bored. "Have you prepared your surrender, primitives?" Stone's response was calm. "No. Instead, I'm going to tell you what's about to happen." He pressed a button, and the lights in the command center dimmed. "Look up at Earth's night sky, Commander." Across the planet, millions of tiny lights began rising from the ground, from the oceans, from mountains and forests. What looked like stars ascending to heaven were actually humanity's hidden fleet of warships, each one powered by technology the Empire hadn't detected. "Impressive light show," Vale sneered. "Are these the chemical rockets you mentioned?" "Those aren't rockets," Stone replied. "For 50 years, we've been building ships in secret, ever since we reversed engineered technology from the last alien species that tried to invade us, the one whose ships now rest in pieces at the bottom of our oceans." Vale's confident expression flickered for the first time. "You're lying. Our scans showed no such technology." "Did they?" Stone asked. "Or did they show you what we wanted them to show? Here's something else your scans missed." He pressed another button. Across the solar system, massive structures emerged from hiding. Space stations that had appeared to be simple research outposts revealed weapon systems larger than the Empire's biggest ships. The rings of Saturn sparkled as thousands of hidden defense satellites activated. "One last time," Stone said quietly. "Leave our solar system. What happened to our lunar colony was an act of war. If you stay, we will respond accordingly." Vale's hologram showed the first signs of uncertainty. This is impossible. You're a primitive species. You barely have space travel." "No," Stone corrected him. "We have exactly what we chose to show you. We learned long ago that appearing weak is sometimes the best defense. The real question is, do you want to find out what else we've been hiding?" The Empire's scans suddenly went crazy as Earth's true defensive capabilities came online. Hidden quantum sensors, gravity manipulation fields, and weapon systems that the Empire had never seen before, all pointed at their fleet. Vale's face had lost its arrogant look. This changes nothing. We are the Galactic Empire. We do not retreat." Stone shook his head sadly. "Then you leave us no choice." He turned to his tactical officer. "Show them what a primitive species can do. Activate the Jupiter defense grid." As the Empire watched in shock, the largest planet in the solar system began to glow. What they had dismissed as natural storm patterns in Jupiter's atmosphere were actually massive energy collectors, built by humans over decades. Now they were fully charged and ready to fire. "Last chance, Commander Vale," Stone said quietly. "Run." The Empire's response would determine whether humanity went to war for the first time with an alien civilization. Either way, Earth was ready. High Commander Vale made his decision. Instead of retreating, he ordered his entire fleet to attack formation. 200 Imperial warships spread out across space, their weapons charging with bright purple energy. "So be it," Admiral Stone said softly. He pressed the command console. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Thunder. Show them what humans can do." The space between Earth and Mars erupted in light as humanity's true fleet revealed itself. What the Empire had thought were simple communications satellites transformed into heavily armed battleships. Civilian transport ships dropped their fake outer shells, revealing sleek warships underneath. "Sir, the Empire is launching their first wave," Lieutenant Rogers reported. "Their energy weapons are targeting our major cities." Stone nodded calmly. "Activate the planetary shield." The Empire fired their weapons. Purple beams of destruction raced toward Earth, but before they could hit, the planet's atmosphere shimmered. The previously invisible energy field caught every blast, absorbing them completely. "Impossible." Vale's voice boomed through the command channel. "Those shields, they're more advanced than our own." "We've had 50 years to prepare," Stone replied. "Now let us show you how humans fight." He gave the signal. Earth's fleet moved with perfect coordination. Unlike the Empire's rigid battle formations, human ships flew in seemingly random patterns, but there was nothing random about it. Each movement was carefully planned by advanced AI systems that predicted exactly where the Empire's ships would fire. The first shots from Earth's fleet caught the Empire completely by surprise. Instead of energy beams, they fired special projectiles that passed straight through Imperial shields as if they weren't there. 20 Empire ships exploded in the first volley. "How?" Vale demanded. "Our shields are perfect. Your shields stop energy and normal matter," Stone explained as more Empire ships exploded. "But they can't stop weapons made from quantum-locked particles. Something we discovered while studying the wreckage of the last alien fleet that tried to invade us." The battle spread across the solar system. From the rings of Saturn, hidden missile platforms launched thousands of warheads. In the asteroid belt, human ships used the space rocks as cover, appearing from hiding to strike, and then vanishing again. The Empire tried to adjust their tactics, but they had a problem. Their entire military was based on fighting enemies weaker than themselves. They had no experience fighting an enemy that could match their technology. "All ships, switch to formation beta," Vale ordered desperately. His fleet tried to regroup, forming a defensive circle. Stone watched the enemy movement and smiled. "Just as we predicted. Lieutenant, signal the Mars Defense Force. Spring the trap." From the red surface of Mars, hundreds of small, fast ships shot into space. They were barely bigger than fighter jets, but each one carried weapons that could hurt an Imperial capital ship. The Empire's big ships were too slow to catch them, and their weapons couldn't lock onto such small targets. "Sir," Rogers called out, "Empire ships are starting to retreat." It was true. After losing half their fleet in less than an hour, the Imperial ships were breaking formation. Some tried to run. Others kept fighting. But without coordination, they were easy targets. Vale's voice came through again, but this time it shook with rage and fear. "This isn't possible. You're nothing but primitives. How are you defeating us?" "Because you made the biggest mistake in warfare," Stone replied. You underestimated your enemy. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We learned long ago that the strong don't stay strong by showing off their power. They stay strong by making others underestimate them until it's too late. The battle lasted another 20 minutes. When it ended, more than 70% of the Empire's fleet was destroyed. The rest retreated in panic, jumping to faster-than-light speed as soon as they could. In Earth's command center, Stone watched them run. Send word to all forces. First battle is won, but the war isn't over. The Empire will be back, and next time they'll be ready for us. He turned to his officers. But so will we. As cleanup ships moved to collect the scattered debris of Imperial vessels for study, Stone looked at the casualty reports. Earth had lost ships too, but far fewer than the Empire. The real test would come when the Empire returned with their full strength. But today, humanity had shown the galaxy one important truth. Never assume that a primitive species is truly primitive. Sometimes, the deadliest predator is the one that looks harmless until it's too late. 2 weeks after the first battle, Earth's long-range sensors detected a massive fleet entering the solar system. This time, the Empire wasn't taking any chances. 1,000 warships appeared near Neptune, led by the Empire's most powerful vessel, a planet-killer-class battleship called the Imperial Wrath. In the command center, Admiral Stone studied the tactical display with his officers. The Empire's ships were different this time, heavily armored, with new shield systems designed to stop Earth's quantum weapons. They've adapted quickly, Stone noted, but so have we. Begin Operation Hidden Blade. Across the solar system, humanity's carefully planned traps waited. The Empire thought they knew what they were facing now. They were wrong. The Imperial Wrath's commander, Grand Admiral Rex, sent his message to Earth. His hologram towered over the command center, dressed in gleaming armor. You primitives got lucky once. Now you face the Empire's true might. Surrender, and we might let some of your species survive as slaves. Stone's response was to activate a hidden screen, showing something that made the Grand Admiral's eyes widen. The asteroids around his fleet were moving. Not randomly, but with purpose. What the Empire had thought were simple space rocks were actually disguised human ships and weapon platforms, thousands of them, now surrounding the Imperial fleet. You're not the first to underestimate us, Stone replied calmly, and you still don't understand what you're fighting. The battle began. But this time, humanity didn't just fight with ships. They fought with the solar system itself. Nuclear explosions inside Jupiter's atmosphere created massive electromagnetic pulses that disabled dozens of Imperial ships. The rings of Saturn launched clouds of microscopic robots that ate through enemy hull plating. Impossible, Grand Admiral Rex shouted as his ships began falling to pieces. These tactics, this technology, you're supposed to be primitives. Stone's voice was steady. We let you think that. Just like we let you think you knew all our weapons. Watch. The surface of Mars cracked open. What looked like natural valleys were actually massive hangar doors. A swarm of small, fast ships poured out, each piloted by an AI that could react faster than any living being. They darted between the bigger Imperial ships, firing weapons that shouldn't have existed. Sir, Lieutenant Rogers reported, the Empire is trying to reach Mars Colony 1. Perfect, Stone replied. Right into the trap. As the Imperial ships approached Mars, they discovered another surprise. The thin Martian atmosphere was actually thick with microscopic defensive machines. Imperial sensors went blind. Their shields flickered and died. The Grand Admiral wasn't done yet. If we can't conquer you, we'll destroy you. Power up the planet killer. The Imperial Wrath's main weapon began to charge, gathering enough energy to crack a planet in half. But Stone just smiled. Now show them what a real superweapon looks like, he ordered. Pluto, the small distant world the Empire hadn't even bothered to watch, suddenly moved. The entire dwarf planet split apart, revealing what it really was. humanity's greatest weapon platform, built in secret over 30 years. That's not possible, the Grand Admiral whispered. We didn't build bases across the solar system just for living space, Stone explained. Each world serves a purpose. Mars is our fortress. Jupiter, our power plant. Saturn's rings are our shield. And Pluto is our sword. The fake planet fired. A beam of pure gravitational force, invisible but unstoppable, tore through space. When it hit the Imperial Wrath, the massive ship didn't explode. It collapsed, crushed into a ball smaller than a house by artificial gravity. The rest of the Imperial fleet began to retreat in panic, but they found their faster-than-light drives wouldn't work. Human ships had seeded the whole area with gravity distortion fields during the battle. Last chance, Stone broadcast to the remaining Imperial ships, surrender or follow your leader. Within an hour, over 600 Imperial ships had surrendered. The rest were destroyed trying to fight their way out. As human ships began boarding the captured vessels, Stone received an urgent message from Earth's president. Admiral, our deep space sensors show 3 more Imperial fleets heading this way. Even bigger ones. They're pulling ships from every corner of their empire. Stone nodded. The real war was just beginning. But humanity had more surprises waiting. Many more. 1 month into the war, Admiral Stone stood before the World Defense Council with a bold plan. The holograms of Earth's leaders watched as he explained Operation Nightfall. We've learned enough from the captured Imperial ships, Stone said, pointing to a map of Empire space. It's time to take the fight to them. Show them what happens when they push humans too far. The council members looked worried. But their home systems are 50 light-years away, India's representative said. How can we strike so far? Stone smiled. Because we're already there. The lights dimmed, and a new hologram appeared. It showed hundreds of small dots scattered throughout Empire space. Each dot was a hidden human base, built in secret over the last 40 years. When we discovered we weren't alone in the galaxy, Stone explained, we didn't just prepare Earth's defenses. We sent stealth ships into deep space. Tiny crews living in hidden bases, watching, waiting. Now it's time to wake them all up. The council voted. Operation Nightfall would begin. In Empire space on their capital world, High Command believed they were safe. They had sent their fleets to crush Earth. Their planet was protected by orbital rings of warships and defense stations. No enemy could reach them. They were wrong. At exactly midnight Earth time, every Imperial communication system went dark. Their quantum networks failed. Defense stations lost power. And in the darkness, things began to move. Status report. The Empire's war leader demanded in their central command. My lord, we're detecting impossible readings, his officer stammered. Human ships, they're everywhere, appearing out of nowhere. Hidden in asteroids, buried on moons, disguised as space debris. Human forces had been in place for years. Now they struck. Small deadly ships piloted by Earth's best crews. Teams of soldiers using reverse-engineered teleporters to appear inside Imperial facilities. On Earth, Stone watched the operation unfold. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. Show them our steel rain. Across Empire space, the shadows themselves seemed to attack. Imperial commanders discovered that humans had hidden weapons in plain sight. What looked like decorative fountains in their cities were disguised missile launchers. Civilian satellites turned into weapon platforms. Even their own defense systems turned against them. Humans had hacked them long ago. Sir, Lieutenant Rogers reported, Imperial forces are in chaos. Their command structure is breaking down. The hidden bases report 80% of targets destroyed. Stone nodded. Send in the main fleet. Earth's warships, which had been waiting at the edge of human space, jumped into action. They struck Imperial shipyards, fuel depots, and command centers. Everything humans had learned from decades of secret observation was used against the Empire. The Empire's war leader watched in horror as his defenses crumbled. How? He demanded. How did they do this? The answer came from Admiral Stone himself, broadcast on all Imperial channels. You thought you found us first. Stone's voice echoed through Imperial command. But we detected your scout ships 20 years ago. We've been watching you, learning about you, preparing for this day. Every time you ignored a strange sensor reading, every time you dismissed an unexplained energy spike, that was us, getting ready. The war leader's face turned pale. Ready for what? To show you why starting a war with humans was your worst mistake. We gave you chances to make peace. You chose war instead. Now face the consequences. Across Imperial space, hidden human bases continued to activate. Each one had been built with a specific purpose. Some attacked military targets. Others freed enslaved species the Empire had conquered. Still others spread the truth about the Empire's defeat at Earth. By the end of the day, the Empire's capital world had surrendered. Their mighty fleets, scattered across space without central command, were being hunted down one by one. The Empire that had ruled for 10,000 years was falling. In Earth's command center, Stone received the reports with quiet satisfaction. But he knew the war wasn't over. Parts of the Empire would fight on. Some would never surrender. Sir, Rogers called out, the Council is asking, what do we do with the Empire's worlds once we've taken them? Stone looked at the map of the galaxy, where more and more sections were turning from Imperial red to Earth blue. We do what humans always do after a war, Lieutenant. We help them rebuild. We show them a better way. The Empire had started this war expecting an easy victory over primitives. Instead, they had awakened humanity's full potential. The galaxy would never be the same. The great halls of the Imperial Palace, once a symbol of absolute power, now echoed with angry voices. Emergency alarms flashed as dozens of Imperial governors argued with each other. Their perfect empire was falling apart. We must surrender to the humans, shouted Governor Lin of the Core Worlds. His hologram flickered as another human attack disrupted their communications. Look what they've done in just 2 months. Half our worlds are lost. Never. War leader Dax slammed his fist on the golden table. We ruled space before these primitives learned to make fire. We cannot surrender. In the middle of their argument, all screens in the palace lit up. Admiral Stone's face appeared, calm as always. The Imperial leaders fell silent. Your empire is finished, Stone said simply, not just because of our weapons, but because of what you never understood about humanity. The screens changed to show images from across Imperial space. Slave races the Empire had ruled for thousands of years were rising up. Human ships were giving them weapons, teaching them to fight. While you were busy trying to crush us, Stone continued, you didn't notice what else we were doing. Every slave world, every oppressed species, we contacted them all. We showed them the truth about your empire. And now they're showing you what happens when the strong help the weak. War leader Dax turned red with rage. You're destroying 10,000 years of order, of peace. Peace. Stone's voice turned hard. You call slavery peace. You murdered our people, threatened our world, and expected us to bow down. Instead, we're teaching others to stand up. The palace shook as explosions rocked the capital city. Through the windows, Imperial leaders could see their own defense platforms turning against them. Humans had hacked them all. Governor Lin stepped forward. Please, Admiral Stone, what are your terms for peace? But before Stone could answer, war leader Dax pulled out a weapon. Traitors, I'll die before I surrender to primitives. The palace erupted in chaos. Some leaders sided with Dax, drawing weapons. Others backed away, calling for peace. Centuries of Imperial unity shattered in minutes. On Earth, Stone watched the Empire tear itself apart. Lieutenant Rogers stood at his side, reading reports from across space. Sir, 17 more Imperial worlds have surrendered, Rogers said. And there's something else. The slave worlds, they're calling us heroes. They're naming their children after Earth. Stone nodded slowly. Because we did what no one else dared to do. We stood up to the Empire. And we helped others stand up too. Another officer rushed in. Admiral, our spies report fighting in the Imperial fleet. Ships are firing on each other. Some want to surrender, others want to keep fighting. And so an empire falls, Stone said quietly. Not just from outside attacks, but from its own weight. From all the worlds and people it crushed under its power. The main screen showed more Imperial worlds going dark as their leaders fought each other. Some called to Earth for help. Others swore revenge. The mighty empire that had ruled the stars was eating itself alive. In the Imperial Palace, the fighting grew worse. Governor Lin and his supporters barricaded themselves in one wing, sending desperate messages to Earth. War leader Dax and his loyal forces took control of the defense center, threatening to destroy their own capital rather than surrender. Sir, Rogers asked, what do we do? If we don't stop them, they'll tear their whole civilization apart. Stone looked at the galaxy map, where the once solid empire was now a broken mess of fighting factions. Sometimes, Lieutenant, you have to let the old order fall completely before you can build something better. He pressed the communication button. This is Admiral Stone to all Imperial worlds. To those who want peace, Earth will help you. To those who want to keep fighting, remember what happened to every fleet you sent against us. The choice is yours. Across Imperial space, world after world made their choice. Most chose peace. Some chose war. The empire that had seemed unstoppable 2 months ago was now falling faster than anyone had expected. Stone turned to his officers. Prepare our peacekeeping forces. The hard part isn't winning the war. It's building the peace that comes after. The Empire's crisis was reaching its peak. Soon, the galaxy would need to find a new way forward, and Earth would lead the way. 3 months after the war began, Admiral Stone stood in the great hall of the former Imperial Palace. The room where Empire rulers once commanded the galaxy now held representatives from 100 different species. Former slaves sat beside their old masters. Everyone watched as Stone walked to the center of the room. The war is over, Stone announced, his voice carrying across the silent hall. The last Imperial war fleet surrendered this morning. Now we must build something new from the ashes of the old empire. Governor Lin, who had helped broker the final peace, stepped forward. Earth has proven itself not just powerful, but wise. We ask that you lead the new galaxy. Stone shook his head. No, humanity didn't fight this war to become the new empire. We fought it to end the very idea of one species ruling over others. He pressed a button. The hall's center lit up with a huge hologram showing a new map of the galaxy. Gone were the imperial red colors. Instead, different sectors showed different colors, each representing a free species. This is our proposal, Stone said. The Galactic Coalition. Every species gets a voice. Every world gets a vote. No more slaves. No more masters. The hall erupted in discussion. Many former imperial leaders looked uncomfortable, but the freed species cheered. They had seen how humans fought for freedom, not just their own, but everyone's. Lieutenant Rogers, standing at Stone's side, read from her tablet. Sir, reports from across the galaxy. 90% of worlds are accepting the coalition plan. Even most former imperial strongholds agree. They saw what happened to those who kept fighting. Stone nodded. The last imperial holdouts had learned the hard way that humans never stopped innovating, never stopped finding new ways to fight. Better to have humans as friends than enemies. There's more, sir, Rogers continued with a smile. The freed species have been studying our history. They're amazed that humans spent so much time fighting each other, but still united when faced with an outside threat. They're calling it the human paradox. The ability to turn from division to unity in an instant. Stone thought about Earth's long history of wars and peace. Maybe that's why we were ready for the Empire. We knew the price of war and the value of peace. We learned to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. The coalition formation ceremony began. One by one, representatives from each species signed the new charter. Former imperial governors signed alongside races they had once enslaved. Change was coming to the galaxy, faster than anyone had expected. A small alien child, from a race that had been imperial slaves for 1,000 years, walked up to Stone. "Is it true?" she asked in perfect English. "Will we really be free forever?" Stone knelt down to her level. "Yes, and if anyone ever tries to take that freedom away, they'll learn the same lesson as the Empire. Humanity will stand with you." The ceremony ended with a surprising announcement. The former imperial capital world would be reformed into the Coalition's central meeting place. But the biggest change was the new name for the galaxy's faster-than-light communication network, the Stone Network, in honor of the admiral who had led humanity to victory. "I don't deserve that honor," Stone protested. "You do," Governor Lin insisted. "You showed us something we had forgotten in 10,000 years of empire. True strength isn't about crushing others. It's about helping them stand up." As the new Coalition Council began its first meeting, Stone received one last report from Earth. The World Defense Council had a question. Should humanity reveal all its hidden technology and bases now? Stone smiled and sent back his answer. "Not yet. Peace is wonderful, but humanity learned the hard way to always be ready. Keep some surprises in reserve, just in case." The war that began with an empire's arrogance ended with a new age of cooperation. Humanity had proved itself not just as warriors, but as teachers, helpers, and friends to those in need. The galaxy would never be the same. And if anyone ever wondered why humans seemed so ready for that first war, they found their answer in an old Earth saying that Stone had shared: "Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and always be ready to surprise those who underestimate you." The Empire had learned this lesson the hard way. The rest of the galaxy learned it the right way. As humanity's allies in a new age of peace and freedom.